Activists call for general strike in Minnesota to protest ICE activity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is unfolding right now in Minnesota on January 23rd, 2026. A major day of action gets underway. Activists, labor unions, including the Minnesota AFL-CIO and SEIU faith leaders, community groups, and even hundreds of businesses have joined forces for what's being called ICE Out of Minnesota, Day of Truth and Freedom. They're urging people across the state to stay home, don't work, don't go to school, and do not shop. We've covered this a couple weeks ago when they announced that this was going to be a plan, and I can't not engage in commerce. I wasn't about to not release a podcast episode, so I don't know. And by the way, I don't get monetized from this. I don't get ads run on my videos, or at least you shouldn't be getting ads on it. So I will say this: I'm technically not engaging in commerce. I'm just engaging in entertainment. They're urging people to engage in no form of economic, trade. They're calling for an economic blackout and a general strike to protest the surge in U.S. immigration and customs enforcement operations in the Twin Cities. I mean, will it work? I think. You know what I mean? If you don't go to Target for a few days, I think that they're just going to say federal agents out. I think that's what their plan is. If you avoid any economic activity, that will just change everything. You know what I mean? The businesses not being open for one day, that law enforcement will just say, looks like our work here is done.
Activists have called for a general strike today in Minnesota, urging people not to go to work, shop, or go to school as part of the ongoing protests against ICE activity in the state. Organizers of the Action ICE Out of Minnesota Day of Truth are calling for a statewide pause in economic activity. This as ICE ramping up enforcement in another state. Karen Travers.
I'll go across the river. I'll go to Fargo and I will engage in all the economic activity I'd like, because then it's technically not in Minnesota.
Has more from Washington.
In a frozen Minnesota today, the state on strike over ICE. People urge not to work or shop, but protest the federal immigration crackdown. Another march planned in Minneapolis, but ICE officials this morning standing their ground.
We are going to take these criminal illegal aliens off the street and make America a safer place, make Minneapolis a safer place again.
And there is new fallout over the detention of a 5-year-old boy.
It wasn't detention. I would love to. I've seen this going around everywhere on Twitter, on X, everything. He wasn't detained, and a lot of people have made that claim. His father was detained, and then the boy was taken, alongside agents into, because what I'm not saying, listen, JD Vance, his take on it was, he used the term, and I don't know why they're using this term, aliens. Why aliens? I don't think it's helpful in the terms of, your language. Yes, I understand, it's performative cruelty, it's turning up the valve, it's making it look worse. It then makes your actions in general feel as though, we shouldn't be engaging in any deportation. You know what I mean? It makes people feel as though, then why, if we're gonna be engaging in taking moms out of here that maybe just, they need to renew their green card, or permanent residents or whatever that have issues with their paperwork, and then just they need to review them. And then we're taking them and we're boxing them up and we're sending them back. I think that's where you have a lot of people going, let's just not have any deportation at all. And I'm saying no. The exact opposite reaction to this kind of stuff is not to go abolish ICE. And that's going to hurt AOC's election chances. That's why I'm saying that's going to be Amy Klobuchar in 2028. So listen. With the 5-year-old, yes, it sucks. It sucks, and it sucks. It sucks that his dad got arrested. It sucks that whatever. I don't know what happened. You know what I mean? I don't know why his dad engaged in that behavior. I don't know why his dad decided to traverse the American West with his son. You know what I mean? And try to find work. I'd say in any situation, though, you should be going, maybe I should get rich first, and then I will, have the child. I will get my citizenship. I'll work for a few years. I will get my paperwork in order, and then I will have a child. Otherwise, anchor baby, that's just, it makes it so much more PR. It makes it a nightmare politically. It makes it one that it is difficult to argue for like people who are centrist minded, who just want like decent minded immigration, that just want people, you know, I just want people that are like who came here illegally to fucking be sent back so that they can, you know what I mean, get in line, because I think that you should come here. I think you should come here legally. I think that you should come here the proper way. You shouldn't be allowed to hop the line like a lot of people are pushing for. You know what I mean? This sort of path to citizenship where you don't have to. I'm in favor of remain in Mexico. I think that that's not a bad idea for a lot of these people. You know what I mean? Depending on where they're from. And unfortunately, you can't deport people who if they were born in the United States, they've lived here their whole lives. You know what I mean? That sucks. I'm not sure that that's exactly what's going to happen to this kid. It sucks. This whole situation sucks. It sucks.
The detention of a 5-year-old boy. School officials say 5-year-old Liam and his father had just pulled into their suburban Minneapolis driveway Tuesday when agents took the father into custody. School officials then saying an agent essentially used the 5-year-old as bait, directing him to see if anyone else was home before taking the boy away. Witnesses say multiple people, including...
That is nutty. You know what? It is just a good idea. I will say that is resourceful of the agent to just grab the kid by the backpack and hold him up and be like, "Hey, anybody else?" You like, it's like, you know what I mean? You see if anybody peeks at the window, and then you're like, there they are. I see them. You know what I mean? It's nutty.
The boy's mother offered to take him. Instead, ICE officers took him away with his father.
There was another adult who lived in the home that was there saying, "I will take the child, I will take the child."
DHS telling a different story, saying ICE did not target a child, claiming Liam's father is an undocumented immigrant who fled on foot, abandoning his son in the driveway.
Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death?
And ICE also ramping up operations in the state of Maine as part of what they've called Operation Catch of the Day.
One of the defenses that I have heard that I go, okay. I've heard this defense, which is there's people in the house. They're yelling like, "I can take the kid in there." I've heard a lot of people, they're going, well, how can we confirm? There's no way, if the father's child, if the father of the child here is undocumented, we don't know who the mother is. There's no way to confirm any sort of identity of who this child is. Their premise, or at least the one that a lot of these, because let's remember, untrained, bumbling folks that are operating as federal agents. They're not going to have the most worldly knowledge of who they're arresting. So, as a result, they have no fucking clue who they can leave this kid with without it coming back to bite them in the ass, because who knows, maybe this person in their house is the proper mother. Who knows, maybe this person in the house is actually some girlfriend of the guy that you just arrested, and then she's going to take the kid and they're going to take off somewhere and you'll never see him again. There's real things that you got to consider in the minds of oh yeah, these are fucking idiots that are operating as federal agents. Of course they're not going to make, the best, most level-headed minded choices, but also there are some angles where you can go, all right, if you were in a heated confrontation, yeah, you would go I don't know who to leave this kid with, so let's just bag him up.
Protesters taking to the streets there as well as fear spreads through immigrant communities.
People are being snatched off the street, taken to undisclosed locations.
Here in Washington, the House passed legislation to fund the Department of Homeland Security and ICE. Because the bill placed no limits on ICE, most Democrats opposed it, but the ones that voted yes on passage say they did so to avoid another government shutdown. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
I mean, it's getting worse. It's getting so much worse, guys. And I don't know who can save us. I don't know who can save us except for Mike Lindell. You know what I mean? He's also running for governor, so let's not forget. Can you imagine the MyPillow CEO? He's governor, and then suddenly we all go, maybe we should just stop fighting. Maybe we can all imagine he's the one who unites us all. First, our best governor is a wrestler, Jesse Ventura, and then it's a TV salesman. I like it. I like the image that we're cultivating as a state. Minnesota, we're truly... No other state is like us, and I like that about us. I love it about us. No one has quite our accent. No one has quite our norms. No one has quite our customs. No one has quite our diverse population. I love it.
bunch of officers. This is just daily life here at the moment.
People just driving by, flipping off ICE agents.
Right there, and they can't even go out because of them. I fucking hate all this shit.
Cops are pulling out. Blue Subaru. I'm not sure if you're on the call.
Did you arrest anyone?
Are you guys reporters?
Yeah.
Wonderful. You're doing your job?
Yeah.
I am too. Have a blessed day.
What's your job?
What happened to you? I just got random.
That's like an Asian woman working as ICE. I told you, I've been predicting this for a while. Asians are becoming the new whites. They're more successful than whites are on per capita. Just saying, you know what I mean? You don't see Appalachia populated by the Vietnamese. You know what you know?
Said they're random check. I'm a U.S. citizen, and they accused me of armed robbery.
Armed robbery?
Yeah, which has never been on my record.
How long have you lived in America for?
Well, since we were little, more than 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah.
You never
Man.
expect to get treated like this?
No,
Was it because of how you look? Is that what happened?
Yes.
I think so. You know.
They were racially profiling us.
Minneapolis, the latest target of the Trump administration's mass deportation agenda and crackdown on civil liberties.
I don't vote.
The president stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers.
ICE's elevated violence and militaristic tactics culminated in the killing of an unarmed civilian observer, Renee Nicole Good.
She was a agitator, a professional troublemaker.
All right, come on, enough of the she was an observer, and enough of the she was an agitator, she was a terrorist. Enough of the lies on both sides. Enough. It was a confused situation, and it was way more complex than anybody is making it out to be.
This was an act of domestic terrorism.
Despite there being no evidence for those claims, the onslaught here...
And then you have the real nuts that are going like, ICE is not real officers. By law, federal agents, and this is not even arguable, it's something that a lot of people, they've been throwing out on TikTok, on Facebook and whatnot, they go, ICE is not, they don't have the real authority. It has been, they may not have your state's authority, they have federal authority, which overrides state authority. It's regrettable. I'm not saying that I agree with ICE, I'm not saying I want 4-year-olds in handcuffs, all right, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe I have to say that, but in today's climate, you do. Otherwise, you're labeled someone who's like, no. I don't want anything. Listen, you can look it up yourself. It's literally on the first page of Google. You look up, are ICE agents police officers? No, ICE agents are not local police officers. They are federal law enforcement agents with the Department of Homeland Security. But they often use similar tactics, wear gear, saying police, and they have the authority to enforce federal immigration laws, leading to confusion with local police and concerns about misrepresentation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not arguable. They have authority to enforce the law. They are not, and whether or not you want to play a semantics game about if they don't even have a right to be in the city. Unfortunately, they do, because the president has said they do. And you can have your issues with the president. I do. You can have your major hang-ups where you go like, yeah, but why would he crack down on this? It's for fear. I'm not saying it's not for fear. I'm saying that unfortunately, ICE had the right to be in the city. It had the suspicion turned on it because of the major amounts of fraud that have been pouring out of the state. That yes, they've been addressing it since 2014. Yes, they have. But then why has it been so rampant, and why has it gotten so much worse since COVID? That's exactly why they're targeting it. They've been covering it since 2014. And they've been covering it, yet it's gotten so much worse. It's gotten so much worse since COVID. That's the reason, and no one wants to say it. But that is the reason. It's unfortunately kind of justified, and it's unfortunate because once you say that it's kind of justified, you're labeled as being in one camp. No, I want my state, the state that I call my home, to be held to account. And I want it to not be a national disgrace the way that it's been the last few days, the last few months. My state, and the last few years, I will say, admittedly, my state has unfortunately fallen to a national laughingstock. And it hurts as a person who was proud to, and I still am a proud representative, I'm a proud native of it. I'm a Native American. I'll bang the drums. You know what I mean? I'll have a powwow. Hey ya hoa, hey ya hoa. I'm not going nowhere. This is straight up. I am disgraced and appalled to have to see the level of nonsense and fraud that has been allowed to happen. And unfortunately, we deserve a little bit of scrutiny by a federal lens. And I don't think a lot of Minnesotans want to admit that. I don't think they want to admit nearly how bad some issues around immigration, around white-collar crime, around federal dollars being stolen. A lot of people don't want to address the fact that that does need to be looked over with a fine-tooth comb. And if it needs to be undertaken by the FBI, if it needs to be undertaken by federal agents, I have no issue with it to some extent. I think that it's clear that the state's level of governance is questionable to some extent, because they've let it get to this extent. They've let it get to this degree to where it's a joke. We're all a joke. We're a joke now. And it's not as though we haven't been. Fargo kind of made us all a joke, but we're just making it worse, and we've made it worse by not catching these people. And unfortunately, it was Donald Trump who had to be the president when all this shit broke out. And I will say this, and it might be my most controversial take, and it might be a good one to end the show on. If it was a Democrat who was in office, who may have won the election, like Kamala Harris, I'm not entirely sure that we would have gotten the level of response, scrutiny, and poring over the documents and investigations on the ground, looking at these people that have been stealing from local communities. We wouldn't have gotten the level of scrutiny from a Democrats administration that we have from this one. Be that for the worse or for the better. Take it as it is.